Today we're going to do a gentle restorative yoga session together. And I wanted to show you some of the props that you might want to have available to enhance your practice. Of course, one or two bolsters would be preferable. If you don't have a bolster, you might want to use one or two firm bed pillows. Then a yoga strap is always handy. If you don't have a strap, then you can also use a sturdy scarf or possibly a belt. Just be careful of the buckle, as you don't want to accidentally hit yourself with it. So be careful when you're placing it around your legs or your body. Just be mindful of that. I always like to have at least 2 yoga blocks. I put them in various positions to help support the body. And so those will come into play pretty soon. And then I also like to have 1 or 2 yoga blankets. Of course, you can use any blanket, but I would suggest that you have a blanket that isn't wider than the width of your arms so that you can easily fold it and manipulate it. So when you're putting it in different positions, it's not too cumbersome for you. And then, of course, your yoga mat. Some other things you might want to consider include whether or not you want to diffuse some essential oils in the background. Something calming like lavender would be nice. Of course, you want to be practicing in an area that's free from distraction too. So hopefully you can find a spot for the next half hour that you can be able to get away. And of course, you can do this practice any time of day. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin with some inhalations and exhalations, and then do some gentle stretches before we lie down on our bolsters. So let's inhale together and exhale down. And inhale and exhale down. Inhale up and exhale down. Now, placing your left hand on your right knee, go ahead and twist to the right, keeping your spine tall. You can go ahead and rotate around, looking towards the back corner of your room if you'd like, and don't forget to breathe. Relax the jaw. And then we'll come out of that twist and we'll go ahead and do that on the other side, placing the right hand on the left knee, keeping the spine nice and tall. Don't forget to breathe. And come back to center. We're going to do some seated cat-cow stretches. So go ahead and round your back as you look towards your belly and exhale down. Then pull yourself forward, arch up, and look towards the ceiling as you inhale into cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. One more time. Inhale, cow. And come back to a neutral spine. Now, grabbing on the outside of the left side of the head, gently pull your neck towards the right. You should feel a nice long stretch along the left side of the neck. If you want a little more intense of a stretch, you can wrap your left arm behind your back and you'll feel a little more of an intensity. And then let go. And we're going to do that on the other side. So reach up and over with your left hand, place it on the right side of the head, and gently pull towards the left. And remember, you should be between, as though you're between two panes of glass. So your spine is tall, you're not leaning forward or backward. And remember, you can always wrap that right hand behind your waist for a little more of an intense stretch. And if you want to practice your Ujjayi breathing, feel free to do so. Being more mindful with your breath will help you relax more. We're going to go ahead and get our bolster ready. So bring it over to your mat, and you're going to place your hips at the base of the bolster, or the bolster at the base of your hips, whichever way you want to look at that. And I like to, at this point, place a block under both of my thighs so that my thighs don't have to work at all in this pose. And we're going to recline on our bolster. The center of our spine is going to go directly over the bolster, and we're going to let our arms come out to the side. In all of our poses, we're going to stay in them for about 3 minutes each. And of course, if you have more time, then you can pause the video and stay in each pose as long as you'd like. But here we are, we're in reclined butterfly pose. And feel free to close your eyes. We're going to go ahead and begin now. And slowly gathering your knees together. You can let your knees fall to the right. You can push your block out of the way and the other one as well. And we're going to come onto our side and keeping that hip right up next to the bolster, go ahead and place your arm on the bolster and your ear on the bolster. And you can rest here for the next few minutes. Feel free to close your eyes. And go ahead and place your hand on the bolster to either and the floor to push yourself up, or if it's easier for you, you can rotate, placing your knees in the middle and then letting them drop to the left. I'm going to rotate to the other side so that you can see me. And now we'll do the same thing on our left side. So the left arm goes down on the bolster, the ear on top of the bolster. Your knees are either stacked or they can be at more of a Z formation. And then we'll just be here for the next few minutes. Feel free to close your eyes and relax your jaw and your breath. And go ahead and push yourself up slowly from that position and face your bolster. We're going to be on our knees, and this is where you can add a bolster if you'd like. If this is more comfortable for you, we're going to do supported child's pose. So if this is more comfortable, you can sink back on your heels as your knees are wide to the sides of the mat, and then place your heart center on the bolster. Or if you want to be further down and that's comfortable for you, you can do that as well. You can also place a blanket on the bolster or a blanket behind your heels to make it a little bit more comfortable to sit like this. So whatever works for you. And then you're just going to put your arms on both sides of the bolster and hug it close to you as you close your eyes and ease into the pose. And we're going to slowly come up. And if you want, you can move that blanket out of the way if that was being used. You might want to scoot your bolster up just a tad. And you have a couple of options here. If we're going to move into supported sphinx, but if that is not comfortable for you, I would say do a modified child's pose over the bolster. Again, if you don't like to get marks on your bolster, use a little washcloth. You can do a child's pose. If your knees are closer together, you're going to feel more of a stretch in your upper back. If you have your knees wide, you'll feel more of a stretch and opening in the low back. But we're going to do what's called Sphinx pose. And so we're going to move that bolster to the end of the mat, come down on our legs, and our torso is going to be supported by the bolster as we have both of our forearms on the ground and our legs are kind of going out at a 45-degree angle at the back. They're flat behind us. And this is a gentle back bend. So we'll just hold this pose for the next few minutes. If you want, you can let your head drop, or you can place a blanket if that's not comfortable. But of course, you can also keep your head upright. And we're going to push away from the Sphinx position into tabletop slowly. You can sit back on your heels just so that you can move the bolster. We're going to move it perpendicular to the mat. And then we're going to come back onto our behinds and drape our knees over the bolster. And then you can just recline back, or if it's easier for you to come down on your side and then roll over, that is good for those who have sensitive necks. So once we're down here in this position, we're going to bring the bolster a little bit closer to us, hike our hips in the air, and place the bolster directly under our backside. And then we're going to lift our legs to the ceiling, just straight legs here. Of course, you can have a micro bend in your knees. And we're going to let the legs fall towards us. We're not pulling really, but just grab either behind the calf muscles or the ankles, or you can use that strap, as I mentioned before. Just be mindful of the buckle around both feet as you gently pull towards your head. And this is called waterfall position. One thing you'll want to be careful of is to know that it's not an arm strengthening movement. So we want to have our triceps relaxed on the floor, and we just want to have enough tension on the strap or on our legs with our arms. And in this position, of course, your triceps would be off the floor. That's why the strap helps you to relax a little more. But you do just want to have a little pull, but you're not straining. It's not a competition to get your toes towards the floor or anything like that. So we'll just be here for the next minute or so. And then we can slowly release the strap. If you need to, bend the knees so that you can easily get rid of that. And give yourself a little bit of a hug with your knees to your chest. And then place your feet down on the floor. We're going to hike those hips up one more time, and we're going to push the bolster to where it's up just above our waistline and just below the shoulder blades. And this is where it's an option to use a block behind your head. So you can put a block right where your head will go. This is also a gentle back bend called Golden Gate pose. You can, if you want less of an arch in your back, you would place the block behind you. If you want more of an arch, you're going to rest your head directly on the floor. And then if you want the most of the most intense stretch here, you will straighten out your legs. And of course, throughout the pose, if you decide to modify, you can completely do that. So sometimes I start out with straight legs and then I bend my knees. So we're going to be here for just another minute or so. And if you're ready, go ahead and place your feet on the floor, knees pointing towards the ceiling. Lift those hips up again. And we're going to slide that bolster all the way down underneath your knees. And you're going to let your knees drape over the bolster. Your feet should feel at rest. You should not feel any tension in the legs. If you want more height for your bolster, feel free. More height for your legs. Feel free to stack bolsters and then lie back. And this is also where you can add a blanket or two because your body will start to cool down as we go into Savasana or our final resting pose. And again, if you're able to, feel free to pause the video and spend as much time as you need to in this pose, but we're going to finish out here in just the next few minutes. And go ahead and draw your knees towards your chest. If you need to, move the blanket out of the way. And you can rock from side to side. And then stretching long, push those bolsters or the bolster out of your way. And stretch long from the fingertips to the toes. And wiggle your fingers and toes. Rotate your ankles and wrists one direction and then the other direction, gently waking up the body. And then gather your knees again into your chest. Give yourself a hug and let your knees drop to the right. We're going to come down into fetal position here and then just take a deep breath in and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And one more time. Inhale. And on the exhale, push yourself up from the floor and meet me in the seated position. Well, I hope that felt good, and you can repeat this video as often as you'd like. And I hope to see you back here soon. Again, I'm Janelle Taylor with Cross Yoga by Janelle, and I hope you've enjoyed this restorative session. Thank you for watching.